of or going to the root or origin. Thoroughgoing or extreme, especially as regards change from accepted traditional forms. As a noun, it's a person who holds or follows strong convictions or extreme principles. All right, as I said, we're continuing on in Paul's second letter to Timothy, chapter 3, and we're in verse 2, right?
I wanted to ask you about the things that happen for the people that, the description that it gives in perilous.
The perilous last days, the lovers of self, the lovers of money, the lovers of death.
Is that a character or is that attitude of these people?
Well, it's dealing with their attitudes and their behavior.
Okay.
And actually, that's kind of an important thing because we will get into and look at very soon here the Sermon on the Mount, which is the most powerful teaching that the world has ever seen. And what's typically called the Beatitudes, that's basically what it is. This is Jesus saying, okay, here are the attitudes that you're supposed to have. Here is the behavior that you're supposed to have, because he was training them in righteousness to go out into the world as the light of the world and the salt of the earth. He was training them in righteousness, right? You don't have a behavior unless you have an attitude. I mean, whatever you do starts in your mind, okay? Right. So last week I ended in the last part of our study talking about pride, men being lovers of self. And being a lover of self, which tells you that you deserve it, whatever it happens to be, right? When it comes to the world and the things of the world, that will lead you or lead a person into the very next item, which is being a lover of money. Right. And you'll love money because, first of all, you deserve it. I mean, that's the attitude that you have. And because you have that attitude, your behavior will reflect it, okay? You'll do everything. Money will drive you is what will happen, right? And
that's your master.
That being a lover of money, the next one on the list of our hit parade of evilness, goes right together with pride. The two are inseparably linked together. Now, I said when we started this program a long, long time ago, In Search of Christianity, that the most radical, the single most important sermon or teaching that the world has ever seen was the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, 6, and 7, right?
Most definitely is.
And it is indeed radical. You see, Jesus had gathered his disciples. Now, this is the beginning of his earthly ministry. Yes, he had gathered his disciples.
His first teaching.
And this is the beginning of his earthly ministry. And what he is doing is he's instructing them on the attitude and the behavior that they are to have, that is expected of them, that is commanded of them, all right, of those who would follow him. And as I mentioned, as Paul wrote to Timothy a little later on in his third letter, all scripture is God-breathed and profitable. And the one thing that it says at the end of that is it's profitable for training in righteousness. So that's exactly what Jesus was doing. He was training his disciples in righteousness. And as I said, before he would send them out as the light of the world and the salt of the earth. You have to be equipped. If God calls you to do something, he's going to equip you to do something. And the Sermon on the Mount was him equipping those disciples to do what he had called them to do. Now, in the Sermon on the Mount, people, they'd not heard these things before, or they hadn't understood them. Not from their religious teachers, the Pharisees, and they weren't hearing these things. So Jesus would say over and over, well, you have heard it said, but I say to you, right? Because they hadn't heard him. And what he said to them, and what he is saying to us, was totally radical. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. You don't have to kill somebody to be guilty of murder. Anger will do the trick, right? Yes, absolutely. You don't have to lay with another woman to commit adultery. Lust has already done the act. You have to pray for your enemies. If you don't forgive others, the Father will not forgive you. That's radical. That's demanding. And then his teaching continues on to say, no one, in the Sermon on the Mount, no one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, wealth. Right? Matthew 6:24. So when we're talking about being a lover of money, when we're talking about riches, You need to understand, and this is where we're going, that there is a division between serving God and serving mammon. And by the way, one of the root problems here is people always think that money will serve them. But what Jesus, the truth, said was that you will either serve him or you will serve the money. Okay? All right.
You'll be a slave to it.
All I ever really wanted, Lord, was to be with you, was to be with you.